tablets down to India
Yeah.
to help with, just to help you to use the power of what's available so that you can really, bring your level of education,
Yes.
training, anything up to a higher standard. And I know he's excited about that. And I'm excited about it too. And I pray that everything would go just fantastic. One of the things that we are interested in is how do we get, once you have the tablets, what do you do with them? How do you harness the power of what they can do? You know, go ahead.
Yeah, it's uh, went to one leader and he says he has access and we're we got to buy 50 at a time, but the tablets are like $40 a piece, including tax.
Oh,
Here in America, they're like $80, and by the time you ship them, it costs more.
mhm,
So we're focusing on how much can we take and even increase their value of manufacturing because we need to buy things there.
mhm,
And even as countries even come together, I don't mind if other countries use what we have in America or what we've learned in America by retaining water to be able to accomplish, to be more fruitful, to be
mhm.
able to feed more people, and it's the dams and the hydro, but everything is done electronically.
Yes,
And
yes.
if you're talking about the computer, what good does the computer do to you or a tablet if you haven't got Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at, and I've invested. I invested into Tesla because I see the future of the world is because the poor people in a home can maybe afford $5 for a
Mhm,
monthly fee, and he's putting up satellites right now. He's got
okay.
1,700 satellites, and he wants to position 3,000 of them in the sky where he's going to cover all of the Earth. No home in the world will be without Wi-Fi. What does that say to you? You got Wi-Fi, and even in India, our motto is make a friend, be a friend, bring a friend to Jesus. Well, we looked at the children, and we're teaching English at 3 because everything in the computer, Google, whatever you need, access, WhatsApp, Zoom, everything that we need to start teaching is in English. So this is the process I want to be doing in India, teaching English at 3, teaching cell phones at 8 years old, teaching 16-year-olds apprenticeships.
Right.
And we're going to get into that a
Trades.
little bit tonight
Trades,
just to
yeah.
give you a focus that how can you change a whole nation, and it all comes together because you're tying yourself together. We talked about it.
Hmm.
Having co-ops, if you haven't got the money, you go to the government. If you got 500 people saying, we want to borrow $5 million. We want to build a factory in our city,
Hmm.
and we'll train our people to be able to take care of that factory.
Yes.
And uh, exporting nation is
These are
a rich
growing.
nation.
Yes,
Importing
rich.
nation,
That's
you're
right.
poor. But
Hmm.
importing is also, if you're lacking the education, what have you got? You got nothing.
Hmm.
And I got a book from India. I'm going to use India as a catalyst. I got a book about the history of India, all the different languages, all the different separations. Can you imagine 1,000 to 2,000 languages in India?
Mm.
We have to come to a
Wow.
common
Common.
place.
Yes.
Even how many countries, even Russia now, just in the last 2 or 3 years, their second language is English because they know that whatever's in the computers is English. If you want
Hmm.
to Google something, you ain't going to say it in Russian or you ain't going to say it in Indian, you ain't going to get there,
Hmm.
but you have to be able to follow the pathway. And people even ask, how come America's so much ahead of everybody else? Even us going to the moon was more about the computer than it was the moon itself.
Hmm.
Because the computers are what's them there.
Yeah.
And if, like China now is sending to Mars, there's countries that are finally grabbing a hold of it. But who is there to educate to make this happen?
Hmm.
And is it going to be beneficial if we get to Mars? Well, if there's some minerals there that we can use, or all the stuff that we're using here today, even
Hmm.
the million mile battery, for an example, this
Mm.
takes a certain metal to be able to make that accomplish. You can charge it up in 9 minutes,
Mm.
and you can drive that car for. uh, 2 to 3,000 miles on one charge. And that's not just for the cars, it's also for your cell phone. They're
Wow.
going to make that battery small enough that you can charge your cell phone and it'll last all week.
Wow.
Can you
Wow.
imagine? But it's designed, and they showed it on my cell phone already. They took the battery and they set it down. They took a 45 pistol. They shot through it 6 times,
Mm,
and the battery still worked.
So they make it
Some
durable
engineering,
and everything.
somebody.
And that
But
makes
see, it's
sense.
a learning curve. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to express something. What is the future of the world? It is way bigger than we think it is. And who is going to be educating to that point? And every one of us has gifting. Some like music, some like words, some like
Hmm.
political, whatever you want to
Yeah,
be. Or if you
all
want
over
to
the
be just
place. Yeah.
a laborer, you can
Hmm.
learn whatever you can learn
Hmm.
and whatever you want to be. And that's what America is all about. It was about freedom, the freedom to choose.
So you see the laptop, you see the pads as a an opportunity to develop yourself, not only yourself but your community, because of the access that you have, the things you can learn from it, the things that you can implement. You're seeing these pads as a game changer, really. And I think that's something that's important. Talk about that. How do you believe that this can really change a community? As you send these into that community, if they use them right, because you can use them right or you can use them wrong, right?
I can go to my cell phone. I don't even have to go to a computer. Go to my cell phone and I can Google and I can
Hmm.
say, what's the temperature in Minneapolis?
Yeah, yeah.
Woman comes up and my wife has gotten so caught up into that. There's questions she's asking. I'm saying, are you going to get an answer? Lo and behold, there's an answer.
There's an
How does this
answer.
all work?
Yeah,
And if you're sitting in a room, just listen to me. If you're sitting in a room, there's a million voices in this room.
yeah. Oh
All you
yes.
need to do is
Right
have something to
frequency.
separate it, something to teach you.
Come on.
And if you want to find out something, you can Google it. So all we need to do is teach into these third world countries, India, Africa, you name it, is how to be able to get into the computer and how to be able to even speak to it, say to
Yes.
Google, this is what I
This
need.
is
I
it.
want to be an electrician. I want to be a plumber. Or I want to be a bricklayer. They'll
Hmm.
show you pictures exactly how it's done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've most of the time when I want to learn something, I go straight to the computer.
Yeah.
I don't even have to watch a video. I'll see some training. Anything that we call it YouTube University,
Yeah, it is.
or Google University, because you can learn anything. You can learn how to do any form of business, from a trade all the way up. There is something out there, someone teaching you how to do it. So it's a powerful tool. And I can't wait to hear how people's lives will be changed when they get these pads, because they're using them correctly.
I'll go a little bit into history here. Our government in the last 50 years knew they could start to take over what's happening in America.
Hmm.
And other countries are concerned. India is really saying it. If America loses what we have, our
Right.
freedom by the people, for the people, that they're going to lose too.
Hmm.
And just
Hmm.
what Havana, Cuba, and some other countries making a stand now,
That's right.
and knowing that America is going down the wrong path and they
Yeah.
probably have to accomplish it themselves. Cuba has been a communist country for
For
what, 50,
eons, a
60 years
long
now? I'm
time. Yeah.
not, and they live it, so they know that they don't want to go
They
there.
don't want to go there.
And
Right.
I believe that maybe in America, when you're in maybe a junior high, you have to spend 1 month into a different country.
That would be wonderful.
It would be.
It
And
would
it'd
be
be worth it
wonderful.
because they would see. But what the left has done now has taken our education system in the last 50, 60 years and brainwashed our kids with these games
Hmm.
from different countries that has no value at all, no learning, no teaching. I know some people that are 42 years old and They know how to read on the computer, but they also know how to play games. That's it.
Yeah,
The game of life is
yeah,
not there.
it's not there. No. Yeah,
So it's sad that, but even in America, and that's even happening in other countries, the value of family.
yeah.
When you start separating the husband and the wife, and both of them are working and they're barely making ends, and then the kids see all this happening and arguing and fighting, and the kids don't get that from birth until 12, that sponge area.
Hmm, hmm.
A person is going to be that person what you taught in that area.
That's right. I was watching a documentary the other day talking about our social services here and how with good intentions, but the problem is that they introduced something that was detrimental to the livelihood of the United States. They started to say, well, you can get something if you have a split family. If the husband isn't in the house, you can get this service. But if he's there, it's going to be reduced. Well, that's not. I mean, if you're trying to help someone, you don't help them by splitting the family up.
So,
You strengthen the family unit because it's the family unit that's going to really, cause a more productive community. The family unit is the basis for society. And so we made a mistake here. And I'd hate to see other countries make that mistake, but we need to change it. We need to get back to that place where the family unit is important and it should be central to the success of any nation. And I think that in India and places like that, they understand that.
yeah, they
You
do. I
know?
mean, they're on a better curve of learning.
Yeah.
And you can talk to them people for 2, 3 hours and they retain all this knowledge. We're here in America because I think the gaming has caused us, our children have
Oh,
been
we're easily distracted.
brainwashed and they're watching TV, they're watching their computers. And my wife was talking to one of her relatives yesterday, and they have a set of twins that are about 12 years old now.
Hmm.
And because of this lockdown, they're being, they've bought them computers. And for the last 6 months, some kids have been trying to figure out the computers,
Hmm.
and the teachers are brainwashing them with the Common Core, the schooling that they're receiving now. I mean, it takes, if you're doing addition or subtraction, 3 from 12 is 9. I can say that in just in a couple seconds. But the Common Core takes them 15 minutes to be able to work that problem out. They're taking, they're brainwashing our kids
Hmm.
and trying to find something that's really not there anymore.
Hmm.
Even just like taking
Wow.
our statues. Sure, there's some
Yeah.
statues that from Lee and some of the
Hmm.
people that led the opposite side.
Hmm.
But when we see that statue, we should say, we're not going there anymore.
Right. But it's still history
It's
that
history.
has a value,
But they're
right?
trying to get rid of history because then they have you confined to this brainwashing.
Well, an interesting thing is that you know that if a nation or people that don't know the history will repeat it, good or bad, and
Well,
and
that's what's
most like
happening in
most of the
India
time
right
it's
now.
it's bad. Yeah. So wow.
It's sad that when you hear some of the leadership in India saying we're downsizing population, America is the same thing. Population. We took all the sick people and moved them back to New York, moved the sick people into the old folks' homes.
Oh
See, there
boy.
was an asset and there
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
liability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hey, I
That's
can figure
true.
that out just by hearing it.
Yeah. That's true.
And
So true. That's a touchy
sorry, I'm
subject.
not being racist
That's a touchy
because I'm
subject.
saying it,
Yeah. But
but it's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. You're right. Wow.
And when you hear it from other countries, you're saying, are we to the place where we're like animals that we don't care about another human being? Every human being that we need is to make a friend, be a friend, bring a friend to
Mm-hmm.
a different value of life. Give them the
Hmm.
freedom to choose.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what America was all about. And we need to be really pushing the button to go the other direction. And I believe that maybe we were set up to be that point. Because if you look at America, all the
So
people that
true.
moved in from Europe and all the different cultures, God wanted to mix people up, and He did that in America. And I believe that we can't allow our freedom to be the freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of teaching, and what's going to make the next person or the next generation a better person.
That's right.
And until our motto is message to all nations,
Hmm.
or it can be, uh, can we change the world?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
As once Tesla and some of these, look at Apple now,
Yes.
the guy from England who took some rocket out there,
Branson.
they're all
Yeah.
looking at us the same thing because they know that whoever's going to grab a hold of that and educate every home in the world because they have that Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
we can have a different place and a better place to live.
Yes. Yes. So true.
But how much? See, it's all
Wow.
about money. Like me, I'll for an example, my cell phone and my wife's cell phone is pretty close to $200 a month.
Wow.
Can India even afford that? No way.
No. No.
$5.
Yeah.
So
But
how can their education come unless he has that $5?
the interesting thing is, I have twin grandkids, you know, and we bought them for their birthday. They wanted an old iTouch, Apple Touch. It's not a phone. It looks like a
Yeah,
phone, but
yeah.
it doesn't have cellular capabilities. And they've been using that too, using the Wi-Fi to call each other, to call their friends, to talk to
Mm,
people, to learn, to research stuff. And they're only 9, but
mm.
the things they are doing with this is just phenomenal. I mean, they're using it they'll call us on the phone just do Wi-Fi. So you have capabilities that go beyond the priciness of a phone, and the pads allow you to do that. With the software that's on them, it
They call
allows
the
you to
little flip
research things.
phones.
Yeah, yeah. So they can do almost anything with that, and that's what's exciting about the pad. The pad gives you that connectivity that you can use, so it's worthwhile. I mean, I'm really excited that you are doing that and that you had a heart to do that.
Even just what you're saying, if we give them a little cell phone when they're, and that's what we do. We three English, and then we get to 8 or 9, we give them a cell phone.
Hmm.
So cell phone does the same thing that the computer does,
Yeah,
except it has less knowledge, less capabilities. But it gives you that point of learning how to be able to use that computer, and then when you get to be that adult at 16 or 18 years old, you have the capability to go to that computer and say, hey, I don't even have to go to high school. I can do it at home.
you can learn. You can learn the
There's
same.
nothing.
Yeah,
I,
just apply
for,
yourself.
for my example, my son was working and he wanted to go to business college. So he did it online.
Yeah,
And it was a 4 year course.
yeah.
3 years later, he was done.
And he did it all through his
And you know
his
what he's
his, his
working for now?
device.
He's working for the government of North Dakota,
Yeah,
first responder.
yeah. You see.
And now he's even getting into politics. What has he learned
The power
to be
of
able to get to the place he's at?
yes,
And no matter how old you are, I think he was in his 40s and 50s. He's getting ready to retire, so now he's in his 60s. But he's going to retire because he was working for the government. He's
right,
got a good
good,
retirement
yeah,
plan,
yeah.
good health insurance. Everything you can accomplish, it's in that computer.
Hmm.
And the only way it's going to make a difference is that you may take a little time and learn yourself.
Wow.
I know my wife, even when I got my first computer, I was 72 years old. And my wife was watching games on the TV. And she
Mhm.
was always, "Well, Gene, why are you in the bedroom playing on the computer?" No, what I know today, I learned since I was 72 years old. I'm 87 now.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the other hand,
The
I
the
learned,
whole world has opened up because of this technology.
and even
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. I was an electrician for 60 years. I knew how to do that, but I'm always watching somebody else. So I was watching the plumbers, watching the carpenters, and there was one time I got laid off from work and I had to find a job. And I had a friend that was a carpenter. And I called him, and it was in Rapid City at a government air base.
Hmm.
And I said, "Are they hiring electricians?" He says, "No, they're all filled up electricians." But he said, "They need carpenters." And he says, "Gene, you think you could pass the test?" I went down, I passed the test because I was watching everybody else and talking to the carpenters. See, everybody needs to learn that because one
Yes.
day you're going to own a home. In order to keep that home into a nice
Oh boy.
place to live,
And
you
to
got to
save
know how to do
money.
plumbing, electrical. everything. You got to know a little bit of something, and
Mhm.
the only way you can learn it because you're working on the computer.
Wow.
The gaming, unless I'm playing and I can win that game and I win the money, then I'm all right. But how many people win the game?
Yeah, well, most of it's just for entertainment anyway. There's no value to it, dollar value to it.
Which game is the most important in our lives? The game of
The
life.
game of life. That's
Because if
right.
you're not educated, you're not going to gain,
That's
and you're
right.
not going to know what the stock market's doing. You're not going to know a lot of things that your wealth is going to come from.
Mm.
And we can keep on complaining like that young man I got that's 42 years old and he don't know which direction to go. But he knows how to game. He knows how to
Mm.
play games on the computer.
Mm.
And that's sad
Yeah.
that his future is locked up into something that comes from different countries. It's all evil. It's not even, you're shooting somebody all the time. And
Yeah.
that's the games they play.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
see what it
Those
does
are
to
the
the
most
child.
popular
The
ones.
child gets changed because that's all he knows.
Desensitized. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, what do you see as far as other things that we can focus on to even just going through this book that I got from India and seeing their past and seeing where they're at today, and even, for an example, India um, didn't have oil, didn't have gas, didn't have electric because they built dams and they retain water but never put hydro in.
Mm.
So their means of expanding themselves to a greater nation is not complete. In America, when we soldiers come back from World War II, we did that. We built dams, we put hydro in, we created, even going to the moon. The computers were built because of that. Even we went
Yes.
to going into Mars, and even look at Tesla now.
Hmm.
Why does he have this desire to go to Mars? And even here the other day, he bought 10,000 acres in Nevada. He was moving out of California, but taxes were too high.
Hmm.
And he was the profit business. He was trying to pass it on to the consumer.
Hmm.
And I was even looking at it, and all of a sudden, a couple of days later, finding out the 10,000 acres he bought, he's going to create a city there. And the 10,000 acres is the mineral he needs for the battery that he's going to put in the cars.
He's smart.
See, what can thought, what
Yeah.
can future? And Tesla is not about being that billionaire or the richest man in the
Right.
world.
Right. No.
He wants to take everybody with him.
Mm.
All the help. Tonight I was watching, he's got 5 factories started in Germany
This is Elon
building this
Musk.
batteries
Yeah.
now.
Elon Musk.
And the
Right.
whole bottom of the car is battery.
Yes. The whole bottom.
Can you make 1 million miles on a battery? See, that's where we need to be headed for. What is, what, how? We watched the movies at outer space when we were kids. And we've accomplished everything that was in some of the movies now.
Oh yeah.
And can
Most
it
of the
go
most of
further?
the things
Okay.
we can because even now we're still dreaming,
Uh,
and if you dream it, it's possible. And that's the important thing that I think most people need to recognize. That if you can dream, if you can think about it, if someone can imagine it, it is possible. So go after it, pursue that dream, pursue that. Don't let anyone hold you back or anything hold you back. One of the biggest things that we hear very often, especially as kids, is no, you can't. Well, yes, you can. You can become anything that you need to if you apply yourself. And with the technology that's available today, the world has become small, small in terms of, the borders tend to disappear. The knowledge can pass from nation to nation, from people's group to people's group because of technology. And this is why we need to harness this. This is why we need to really pay attention to what is available, capitalize on it, use it wisely. Don't waste time playing video games. It's fine to have entertainment, but don't waste your time. Spend some time investing in your future. Spend some time learning something, because with these tablets, there's great opportunity, and as the more come, you take advantage. Um, I'm just excited as to what can happen. I think that the nations are all ready for a change. People have to be ready to execute that change.
Even myself, of being an electrician for 60 years and knowing about what electricity does, I'll give you an example. Where does lightning come from? Okay,
Deciding
you walk up across some carpet, and you walk on that carpet, and you
creating the
take and you
static.
touch somebody,
Yeah,
you've charged yourself up enough to zap him.
saying static.
That's the same thing that's happening with the world. And one day I'd like to be able to see that happen. The spinning of the world is at 24 hours if we make a complete turn.
Hmm.
The friction that between us and the air is causing
Yeah,
friction
yeah,
and causing electricity.
static.
The electricity that charges around the world,
Yeah,
and only time it's released is when a rainstorm comes and the clouds are a conductor going
bam.
back to the world.
Yeah,
But if we can harness that, and it's possible. Another thing that I have, and I've got it even at home, I haven't got it built yet, is the anti-magnetic motor.
yes.
A motor that you take two magnets, you try to put them together opposite, and they're
Cre-
pushed
created attention. Yes, yeah.
and create a tension. And all you have to do is have an aluminum disc, put in a whole bunch of magnets opposite of another one, and you got a magnetic motor.
Yeah.
I've got the discs at home. All I have to do is put the magnets in.
I was even watching on my phone actually how they were harnessing the power of a river, just a
Yeah,
little river. They had a little hut. He built a little hut next to the river, and he says, "Well, I want to get some." So with a few pieces of plastic, containers, and things that you find almost everywhere, they were able to get and they spent a little money on a little motor, but once they did that, they were able to harness the power of the river, the natural flow of the river, and supply electricity to his house, two car batteries. And it was just a matter of things that were available, readily available. It's just that you just had to learn how to do it, and they were showing you step by step how to do something that simple to be self-sufficient in the wilderness.
I'll give you an example. I got 9 acres in Kenya,
Okay.
and it's on the river. I got a half acre on the other side of the river, so I own the river. And the water coming off the top of the mountain is coming down in hydro, and it's turning electric generators. But the water is moving fast enough past my land. All I have to do is put a water wheel in,
That's it.
shaft going back to a generator. I
That's
can be
what they did.
generating for how many water wheels do I need? I can put it all the way across the river.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and as long as the river's flowing,
And it goes into the lake that goes the big lake that's in
yeah,
Africa.
it's
It's
excellent. Excellent.
what can you accomplish and how can you educate yourself? I mean, there's so many things that need to be done. It takes a group of people to do it. And I'm going to hit on the co-ops again. Every village and every community needs to come together and
Mhm.
start to support each other
Yes,
in
important,
education because there's some
important.
people that know this, some people know that, and
Hmm.
if you take and you bind it all together, you got a factory or you got something that's capable of keeping you alive,
Hmm.
feeding you every day. India, for an example, all the wood has been burned and it's turning into a desert, and we talk about global warming. Here in America now, I just called Bismarck, North Dakota, and they got a fire in Montana, and they can hardly see across the street.
Hmm.
Now, who's got? And they said there's 100,000 acres is going to burn by the time they contain it.
Hmm.
That's global
My
warming. It's not the
God,
cows, and it's not the cars, it's not the little bit of heat that we make,
it's the
and a lot
destruction
of
of.
it, even you can even feel in my lifetime. I moved to Florida 10 years ago. The sun, you could stay out there and it didn't bother you that much.
It's
10
different.
years later, you go out there
It's
in the
different.
yard
It's
without a
different.
shirt on,
Yes, yes, sir. You're right.
and what's going on here?
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
it's penetrating. That is global warming, but what has, how was the world created? It was created because there was trees. Even like India, it was all trees. They took and used it for firewood. Now they got a desert.
Haiti did
Africa
the
was the
same.
same thing. There's places in Africa that are deserts
Haiti did the same.
and did the same thing. Now we're going to do the rest of the world
I
the
hope
same
not.
way,
I hope not.
or are we going to start planting trees and start to clean up our tree rows or even in the mountains.
Yeah.
Go in there and get rid of the brush that shouldn't be there, and the fires won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know in California there's a greasewood.
That's
I bought
great.
a lot, and I was going to clear the lot, and I had all this brush, and I put it on a pile, and I must have about maybe 10 foot high and maybe 10 foot in diameter. And I took match and threw it in there, and it lit. And it was burning 60 feet up in the air, and a neighbor come running over. I didn't have water to contain it. If there had been other trees there, I would have been a
Mm.
fire.
Hmm.
And here I'm watching
Hmm.
him hump, and I can't stop it. And he says, "What are you doing?" And I says, "I'm burning this brush." He says, "It's not brush, it's greasewood." As soon as you heat it up, the grease starts to flow out, and it makes it
Wow.
higher. That's where the forest fires come in.
Wow.
So if all the mountains in California would go in and clean up their greasewood, we would not have the fires that we have.
Hmm. I did not know this. This is
I
interesting.
didn't either until that happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can we make a better life to live in? Coming together as a community, even when we build a house and put it into an area, we need to clean up the forest around us, otherwise your house burns down.
So true. Wow. Well, this has been an interesting
Lots of
discussion.
lots of education
Yeah.
that comes as you go through a lifetime,
Yeah.
and it's education that I can share with you. And even tonight, I was going to open the door a little bit about technology. You take electricity. There's a black and a white wire. There's a
Right.
negative and positive, just like the lightning. It's the same thing. And the air, the friction up there has created the condenser, and waiting for rain to have a pathway down. Hits a tree, whatever it does. But it's the same thing we're doing with our lifestyles.
So true.
And how much is it to learn that you have to have two, positive and
And a
negative?
negative.
The earth is the negative, the positive is what you have in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you can create positive by generators, alternators, whatever, cars, how we ever make it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's science. And can we take and contain it? Just like with Tesla. If he's got a battery that's coming up on a stock market, it's going to be a 1,000,000 mile battery. Can you imagine? And even the cell phones, the tablets, everything that we use that's got batteries in it, it's going to last for how long? And never 1,000,000 miles. That's a lot, just even for a car.
Wow.
A car is halfway wore out when it's got 200,000 on
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, yeah. That's right. So wow. Well, hey, it's great talking with you today,
Yes.
and it's great having this discussion. And we just want to continue to encourage you to look for the future. You know, think about the future. Invest in your own self. If you have access to tablets, if you have access to computers, learn something from them. You can improve your own society, your own community, and it takes each one of us to do that. So as you do your part, we do our part. You will see society change in your generation. Take advantage of the tablets. Take advantage of the computers. Take advantage of the learning opportunities that we have. And I think we all will be much better off in the near future if we do that.
I want to say one thing. There's a lot of times you're on a project and you see a carpenter do something and you're wondering, why is he doing that? Or
Yeah.
even a plumber, what is he doing? And usually all I do is walk over there and well,
Ask the
explain to me
question.
what you're doing. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, all of a sudden you have access that's got to be fixing your sink or
Yeah.
doing something in your home. And even just think about it. The one thing that really impressed me the most is carpentry.
Hmm.
Did you know that when you put 2x4s and lumber, you put it and it's green
Hmm.
or it's dried out so you can use it. If you don't crown it, it's going to grow.
Hmm.
So you put in one that's got a little crown inward, the next one outward, your house is going to be crooked.
Yeah.
So you crown even the roof rafters, you crown the outside walls, and you'll always have a perfect house because the heat on the outside, if they're all crowned the same way, the wall's going to bend because the lumber's still
Yeah.
alive
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the heat is drying it out and pulling it in
Yeah.
moisture.
Yeah.
But see, if we don't know that, we can be building trash instead of something good.
Yeah. Wow. Well, until next week. See you next week.
Yes, amen. Blessings.
Bye bye. Excellent. Wow, it was really exciting to hear.